So let's just give it a few minutes, not too long. I don't like starting these meetings late. Start now. Just hold on a little bit. Still some coming in, and then we'll hand over and carry on. Just a short while still. Letitia, you got your hand up. Now it's gone.
Ek dink sy wou net vir jou hallo gesê het, Nico.
Okay. Well, okay.
And then I speak when it's muted. Hello, almal.
Listen, just remind me, you got this thing at the top there where you can put your hand up. Now that Letitia's done that. But then somewhere else, when you just want to say that you agree, you can just put your hand up too. Where do you squeeze for that?
When you go to your chat box, you can also put the emoji in your chat box.
In your chat box?
Yeah. You'll see it currently Eugene's waving and I'm waving back in the chat box.
Oh,
that's the little bubble.
So where do you get him, Letitia, the little face? At the bottom there.
At the bottom there's emojis and GIFs and whatever you call those other fancy Generation Z stuff.
Okay, it's sort of a training session for me because I see everybody does it. I'm too stupid to understand. Look at them now; they're all doing it. 10 out of 10, guys. You guys are so creative, honestly. But thanks for that, because I see everybody does it in other meetings, and I didn't catch on where they got it. So I thought, oops, yeah.
Don't worry, Nico, you're not the only one that feels stupid with that.
Yeah, these things catch me out. Yeah. We've got a very good attendance today. This is apparently a subject matter that we all need to look at. Anneke, you're still going to let the people in, hey?
Yes, I am.
So what I suggest is that we start, because I attend so many of these meetings. In some cases, these meetings are very, very late. And I always say it's rude for the people that came in on time. But just welcome to everybody. Yeah, 1st of February already. I can't believe it. I sent a thing out now to many of you. I see they yesterday afternoon lifted some of the level 1 restrictions. The president, some of them. So if you need it, I will forward it to you. Just send it to me, or Anneke can forward it to you. It's just about how long you stay in isolation, and so forth and so forth and so forth. It's reduced to 7 days, and the schools can open and all those things. So there's a whole short note there. But anyway, welcome. This is not my meeting; it's Anthony's meeting. And just as an introduction, I think Anneke and myself have decided that we're not going to put all this members' code of conduct into the agendas anymore, because they just make it very long if you print it, or very long to read. So we're going to reduce those things to shorter way of doing it. But just to remember that we're not in collusion, we're not allowed to. And then general rules for Microsoft Teams. So those are the rules. I think if anybody needs to hear those rules, then shout. But I think we don't want to spend too much time on those things anymore. And then I see there's a whole lot of people that I do not know and that are new. Well, welcome to this thing. I've got a very good reason why I'm not showing my face. We woke up this morning and we don't have any water, so I haven't had a chance to shave or shower. I nearly said the other thing too, but no, we could do that, but we couldn't shave or shower, so the water is down for some reason. That's when you stay in the Platteland, you get all these problems. But I think that's roughly introduction. If there's anybody who would like to, I can't go through everybody's names and welcome you all, but welcome and thanks for joining. You can see we've got a very, very good turnout at this point in time. So what I suggest is I do just introduce Anthony. Now, Anthony used to work for a company called Lafarge, and he's taken pension retrenchment. I don't know what he's done. He doesn't look too old, but he'll explain that to us. And he's now was open for. Hello, Portia. We see your face. Just make your face closer. Um, he then said he would like to audit. I've had quite a few questions about Anthony. Anthony's got a degree in environmental. That's the first thing. The second thing is Anthony's been around in the industry many years. Somebody's mic is open, guys. Just shut your mic. Portia, just make Portia close your mic and your face, please. Yeah, there we are. So Anthony, well, I've had a lot of questions saying, is Anthony still working for Lafarge? He's not. He's retired. He's gone. He's now a consultant. That's the first thing. The second thing I just want to clear with you is that we're not going to do, and I think he's going to cover that today, but we're not going to do these environmental audits like we used to do them, because I think we went negatively, and that's my personal view. When I started here 23 years ago, the auditor, Sir Rupert Bromley, and his auditor used to go out to the quarries and fight with everybody. That's not our intention. We don't want to fight. These audits, health and safety, and this one is there to assist people and to help people plan and for people to understand what's going on. Portia, just shut your your mic. Take your picture off. Just put a stripe through it at the top there. Because we're getting some noises coming through, and then you need to take your picture off. You see there's a little camera at the top, right at the top. Just click on it and it'll take your face off. Because your face is on, you're going to hamper our presentation. You see the little camera at the top, right at the top, on the right-hand side. Just click on that and it'll make you not go away. You'll still be there, but you won't go away. Okay. So just as an introduction, while Portia is still battling to get her face off, so that's roughly what Anthony's going to do. Anthony understands the system. We've also got people that will help him. We did a dry run at some stage down in Nelspruit at Afrimat, kindly. And I can just say we are very proud of the new way we're going to do environmental, and we should actually get away from environmental audits. It's actually environmental training, environmental compliance. So that's roughly what we need. There we are. Portia's got an assistant now to take his face off. Put your mask on, eh? I'm only joking. Just take a picture away at the top there. Okay. So thanks for the entertainment on the one side. You have for Portia and her colleague. I think that must be the first time they're working with the Teams system. Don't feel alone. We all battled when we started. So if you could just take the screen off. Right, Anthony, I'm going to hand over to you because I'm talking too much. And then it's your baby from now on, if you don't mind. Thank you, Anthony.
Thank you, Nico, and good morning to everybody. And I think it's an excellent turnout of people for this workshop. This is the last in a series of a number of workshops that we've had, and it was requested by the by site people. So, yeah, a quick introduction there. As Nico said, yeah, I did work for Lafarge for many years in the industry. I was a well-salted quarry manager in Nelspruit and Machadodorp. So I understand the business, and I took early retirement. I turned 60 and took early retirement to pursue a career in environmental management, which I've been studying for. And that is a very brief synopsis of what I am. I'm going to share my screen, and then we can start with the presentation. Anneke, can you see my screen?
Yes, perfectly. No, yes, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, great stuff.
Can you make it bigger? Sorry, Anthony. Does it go bigger? Then I suppose your face goes away.
I can move my face away. Is that bigger?
Only your face is gone.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Well, you've all
Okay.
seen me, so no one needs to see me. You're going to be seeing me on site, which is wonderful. And I'm actually looking forward to being part of this program and to making a difference on the environmental side at the various operations. And as Nico said, we're not coming in with a big stick. I'm going to do a very thorough audit on both the online and the physical side. But it's not to catch you out. It's not to fight with you. It is really to assist you to get to become compliant and to be able to stay out of trouble with the authorities and the various NGOs. But we'll handle this as we go through. The presentation is divided into 3 sections. There will be a chance to ask questions after each section. So please just make a note and please ask your questions. This is a platform where you need to ask me what to do and how you're going to do your preparation for your audits, so that we can really get the best benefit out of what we're going to do. Sorry, I'm just having a bit of, there we go. So firstly, yeah, very welcome, big welcome to all the quarry managers, environmental people, member companies, and any IAPs that might be have dialed in. And then thank you, Nico, very especially to you and Annika and the ASPASA team for providing the platform and support for this workshop. That's basically our program for today. The goal of what we want to do, the format, the process, the weighting, confidentiality, online audits, the physical audits, and then the questions and closures. There will be some questions sessions during after the various sections. So the global focus on environmental issues and the way we do business has changed, and our industry needs to become a lot more environmentally aware and compliant. And that was really the whole thing that drove ASPASA to identify the need to continue with the environmental audits, which you all know were sort of put on hold for a while. So when we started this journey, we realized that an audit was needed, and let's use the word audit for whatever purpose. It's not a negative term at all, but an audit was needed for the industry, and it needed to be designed by the industry. We didn't need people coming from somewhere and giving us, designing an audit, which really didn't achieve much. So the beginning of the journey, the framework was set, and then a committee environmental committee was brought about, and we had quite a while we actually prepared this audit and the terminology and the procedure, and that was done in conjunction with member companies and industry representatives. Now everybody had an opportunity to contribute. Some folk did, others chose not to, and we are now right at the end of that line. So environmental issues have become a global, national, regional, and a local concern. And this workshop was requested by some of the managers so that we could help them prepare for the audit, and they were able to present the correct information. When we started the new design, we decided to use the existing about face information, which most sites have. Instead of reinventing the wheel completely, we said, let's use what we have. We've modified it. And a lot of the information that you're going to need is already there. It just needs to be updated and upgraded. Audit was designed to assist operations to achieve compliance, and it should equip the managers. And when I say managers, I'm saying managers and staff to be able to interact with the various stakeholders, such as NGOs, government officials, communities, and that sort of thing. As we mentioned before, it's not a punitive exercise. It's really a consultative operation that's going to be happening, and it's going to be thorough. It really will be, guys. And then we based it on a generic flow of the operations. Now, this is the generic flow we used. And if you look at it carefully, you'll see that everything, how it's been set out, everybody on any mining operation does exactly that in broad terms. Remember, this is not in detail, this is in broad terms. So the first part of the audit, the online audit that some of you will do this year, is the first block on the top left-hand side. And that deals with your EIAs, your EMPRs, mining rights, etc., etc. But we'll go through this in a bit more detail just now. And then the physical audit will be on the other side. And you'll notice in the center there is SLPs, communities, and neighbors. And there we're going to have to focus a lot, because that is a big part of mining these days. You've all probably had experiences with your communities, with your neighbors, etc. Some guys have had some very negative things, and others have had some positive things. But if you're not up to speed, you're going to have a problem in that field. So there's a lot of focus on that as well. Okay, so the goal is to achieve environmental compliance for all the ASPASA member operations, and then we need to move towards operating sustainably. Sustainable mining, sustainable operations is a very important aspect of operating today. And we all know how the pressure is on industry and mining to operate sustainably. It's a worldwide phenomenon. As I mentioned earlier on, we're going to perform a user-friendly and a practical compliance audit, and then equip the site managers and the staff with the relevant skills and knowledge. And you'll notice that I've mentioned this now a couple of times. Equip the people on site. Now, why are we focusing on that is to be able to equip a manager and his staff members to be able to deal with the regulatory authorities and affected stakeholders. Folks, a lot of your information is now public knowledge, and you've got NGOs and you've got people that are well qualified, and they're going to pick it apart, and they have the right to come onto your site and question you on these things. And you need to be able to at least talk to them on a level that they're not going to bulldoze you. I think it's also important to say at this stage, we don't expect the managers to be environmental specialists. It's impossible for you to do that. But you need to have a working knowledge of what is required and how to communicate with these particular people. Okay, so the audits are going to be conducted annually. You'll either have an online audit or a physical audit. So the online one will comprise of a training module, the manager's presentation, and a document review. Now, the manager's presentation really is the key to you achieving a good audit score. And when I say that, we're not focusing on scores, we're focusing on compliance, but it is your chance to actually put forward your thing, and we'll discuss this more in detail, but the manager's presentation is the key in both the audits. Okay. So the physical audit will also comprise of a training module, the physical site assessment, and of course the document review. And then all audits will make provision for discussions and sharing of information. Now the weighting, and this is, I think, important for everyone on the call to understand where the focus is and what you need to do and what you need to present to me. If you look on the left-hand side, you'll see the online compliance audit. Things like your EMPR, new order mining rights, mine plans, social labor plans, your environmental performance assessment. Oh, okay. Somebody's making a big noise. Can you just mute your mic there, please? Thanks. Water use authorization and management. These are all big scorers. Manager's presentation is 10%. I know it doesn't make 100 at the bottom, but don't worry about that. So you can see where the emphasis is, the sort of things that we're looking at: training, environmental emergencies, your legal appointments, mine surveys. And folks, these are things that you actually have done, or you should have done. So if they're not in place, you must get them in place. You know, these are things that are compliant. Then if we move on to the physical audit on the right-hand side, things like mining boundaries. People need to know where they are, not just the managers, and it mustn't just be in a file in someone's office. People must know where they're mining. Your water management, your hazardous waste material and waste management. These are all big ones. Air, dust, and noise control, communities, stakeholders, alien vegetation. And a very big one is satellite industries. We're going to talk about that just now. Environmental awareness, and then your correction of your compliance gaps. And then again, manager's presentation. And you'll notice that we've, on 2 occasions now, we're really emphasizing manager's presentation, because it's important that the managers are really up to speed with environmental matters. A very well-run quarry, and this is one of the top scorers on last year's ISH audit. And why I put this photograph in is, if you have a look in the background, the communities are right on the boundaries of this quarry. It's a big issue. You're going to have this happening. A lot of operations are already having it happening, where communities are encroaching onto the operation, and it has enormous impacts in terms of your environmental compliance. You know, dust, noise, traffic, blasting, all water pollution, all that sort of thing sits in here. Folks, can you just mute there, please? There's somebody giving us a lot of noise there. Thank you. So, you know, your stakeholders and your communities and neighbors are going to play a big part in your daily operations. They probably already are, but it's going to get worse as time goes along. As Nico mentioned, I am the appointed auditor, and just for some of the folks that have questioned the confidentiality side of this, especially on the online audit, all the information that is viewed for audit purposes will be treated confidentially. I've signed a confidentiality agreement with ASPASA, and I'm not going to retain any of your documents. All I'm going to do is view them online and assess them to see that they are either right or not right. And then I will not be sharing information without the express permission of the host company. So I'm definitely not the BBC. I'm not going to walk around as the SABC and distribute everyone's goods and bads without your express permission. I don't believe in that. Right, are there any questions of this particular section?
I just saw. Sorry, Anthony, I just saw that there was on the chat box, Nivashni asked some questions.
Yeah. I'm not seeing it, but can you just tell me what they were?
She said, I'm sure that you will explain it later, but how do you choose which operations should be audited online and which should be physical?
Okay. what I did was I took the ish audit schedule, which was Marius's audit, and I went reverse on the schedule. So the guys in the beginning with Marius will have me at the end of the year. What I tried to do there was to have as many, to give people as much time in between the two audits as possible. And then it was a random selection of, I tried to balance it with the various companies. It was about a 50-50 on who gets online, who gets physical. So that's basically as we did it. The big thing with the schedule was I tried, having been in operations myself, I know what it's like having audits back to back. So I tried to give the guys as much space in between those audits as possible. Any other questions?
Charlene's hands up, Anthony.
Hello, Charlene.
Hi, Anthony. I just need to raise a recommendation or a confirmation, maybe. In terms of the legal requirements for environmental audits, each mining company must do a performance assessment audit. And this performance assessment audit must be an external audit from an independent party and must be published. So when this audit results come out, it needs to be published on your website, and it must be sent to interested and affected parties that might be interested. So do you foresee that the audits that you are doing are those audits, or is the audit you are doing the preparation for the various mining companies to be already compliant by the time that they get their performance assessment audits?
Thanks, Charlene. That's a very good point. That this is not a performance assessment audit at all. This is a compliance audit. Performance assessment audits must be done, and they're actually part of what we look at to see that they have been done. So that legal requirement must be done in any case. This is an ASPASA requirement, and we are looking at a compliance side. Any other questions?
Tebe is on, Anthony.
Thank you, Tembi.
Hi, Anthony.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. I just need a clarity on the manager's presentation. Who does that? The manager or maybe the environmental officer?
Okay, we're going to come to that just now, but to answer your question, it is absolutely crucial that the manager doesn't delegate his presentation, his or her presentation. It must be done by them, because we need to assess the level of knowledge in that, and I'll cover that in the next section.
Okay, thank you.
Great. Are there any others? Okay, so I think if no further questions, let's move along to the next section. So the online audit is designed for the managers to have a good understanding of documentation and requirements. So what we found, and what has been brought up on a number of different forums, is managers have a file which has got all the environmental information and compliance information, and they don't actually know what's contained in that file. And somebody walks in and says, show me this and what about that, and suddenly there's the scramble to find information. And this is what this presentation is all about. It's so that the managers have actually worked through some things, know what their EMPR state, know what the SLP state, etc. They need to, and that's to answer Tembi, your question just now. That's why they must do this presentation. It's no point. They're not going to achieve anything. They're not going to benefit at all by having someone else do it. You know, the environmental guys know what's in those documents, but they're not the people that are responsible for the site, and they are not the environmental responsible person either. They also need to, and sorry, managers, I'm focusing on you, but it is important, and we're from a ASPASA perspective and from my perspective, we're trying to equip you so that you don't fall into the trap. Environmental penalties are quite severe. In fact, a lot more severe than your safety penalties. So, and it's your personal capacity. Just remember that. So they need to demonstrate a thorough understanding of the mining area and surrounding areas and all operations being conducted in that mining area. What you find is a guy with a brick plant or an asphalt plant or something else has no clue what's going on there. You know, he's put a fence around it, but it's still on his mining area. He or she is responsible for that specific operations environmental performance. Your stakeholder management, it includes your communities, your neighbors, interested and affected parties, is crucial to the success and sustainability of your operation. What we'll be having a look at on the online is all the relevant documentation and appointments, your risk assessments, implementations of your action plans to address your issues. It's important that you identify the good, the bad, and the ugly, so that you can demonstrate that you've got an understanding of what is good, what is bad, and what is really ugly, and then obviously put in an action plan to address it so that there is a formalized way of getting it sorted out. You must have the knowledge of your satellite industries, as we mentioned, and then what I'm saying is, please share your achievements and actions on your site. You know, small improvements often make a huge impact. We want to know what you're doing, and don't be scared to, if you've not done it, say, this is what I'm going to do. You know, don't think that I'm here to find your faults. I'll see the bad in any case when I'm there. I know where to look. I also hid it away. I also know what's going on. So, you know, please share your achievements and play open cards with me. That way, we're going to really benefit. You're going to benefit from my knowledge and my input, and you know, I can share ideas with you. As I said, Timmy, just now, please don't delegate the presentation to someone else. It's important that you demonstrate your environmental knowledge and understanding. And I really must emphasize this. You know, 10% of your audit score will depend on the manager's presentation. And for guidelines, just revert back to that weighting slide. You'll see where you need to focus, and tell the story. Be brave and be proud, even if it's not 100%. Tell the story. If you don't tell the story, we can never understand what you're doing, and we can never help you. The understanding of reports relating noise and dust levels, you know, guys get from the occupational hygienists, they get their quarterlies and their monthly reports. They look at it, sign it off, and they don't actually know what's happening in there. Then authorities arrive and they say, but your dust levels are too high, and you go, and there's your section 54 or whatever else you're going to get. And the DMR, we had a workshop with them at the health and safety meeting. The chief inspector actually raised this, and he said, you know, the guys don't know what's in those reports, and they're at a huge risk because you are responsible for it. And what they've also found, and I think it's only relevant, topical that we raise it, is that a lot of the consultants are doing copy-paste reports. You need to read these things properly and understand it and make sure that information on those reports relates to your site. You know, the DMR raised the issue and they said they'd be at company X. And when they go through the report, it's actually halfway through, it refers to company Y, 500 Ks away. And it's a clear case of copy paste. So guys, just have a look at that and make sure that you understand your various things. You know, for example, the silica dust levels. The 2024 milestone is you're going to have dust, your silica dust at 0.05 milligrams per cube. If you don't know what's in your reports, you'll never ever achieve that. Noise as well, you know, the 107 decibels. So please look at those things and know what on earth it is that you're reading and what you're signing. Then you also, you know, we need to know about the environmental complaints, the issues, and the methods of resolution. It's very seldom, and the audit document will penalize you if you tell us you haven't had a complaint, because I think then you're telling nonsense. We've all had at least one complaint or a neighbor that was unhappy about something, etc., etc. So put those in. Don't be scared of it. You know, if it's not going to detriment you, to the contrary, the more you tell me, the better your score is going to be, because then it demonstrates that you've got a handle on it, you know what you're doing, you understand what you're doing, and you're able to run your operation in the correct manner. So what we'll be looking at is EMPs, EMP performance assessment, is what Charlene referred to earlier on, your social labor plan and the review, stakeholder management and engagement, mine plans and boundaries. You know, people, there are numerous quarries that have gone out of the mine boundaries. You know, they become zamas immediately. So you need to look at these things. Dust and noise, we've spoken about that. I want to focus quite a lot on these audits, waste management, recycling, that sort of thing, end user certificates, your waste volumes. These are all things that you've got in place. You should have. You know, an end user certificate for your waste management. That is crucial because you are responsible. You know, the cradle to grave principle applies here. And as the manager or the environmental responsible person, you are responsible. So, you know, we really just try to protect you as well. Water management is a big one, folks. Now, we've had, in the past, we've had people telling us all sorts of things. Please tell me what you've got and what you don't have. You know, if you've got a general authority for water, that's fine. If you've got a water license, that's fine. If you've got nothing, let's look at it and see what you have to get. And, you know, I don't claim to be a specialist on water, but we've got people that are, and we'll certainly get you the correct advice if there is an issue there. But things like usage volumes, your reduction measures, recycling, stormwater management, your discharge control, and other things to prevent pollution. Remember, environmental laws tell you you shall not pollute. You must not pollute. It's not a case of mitigate the pollution, it's prevent it. So, you know, keep that in mind. And then, importantly, the environmental training and awareness of the management, the staff and stakeholders. It's important that your staff especially, because what we've seen in the past is we go onto site, the manager and the environmental officer know exactly what they're talking about. And then the plant operators or the machine operator hasn't a clue. You've lost the fight immediately. So you're not going to have, you know, good environmental operations. Just a little picture of a spill control measure. It's very simple. I'm not in for fancy. I'm in for effective and practical. So, you know, you don't have to flower everything for us, but make it work. It needs to work and it needs to be effective. Your environmental appointments, delegation of responsibilities, example, your environmental responsible person who's typically your manager. person responsible for waste, just an example, that sort of thing. Your rehabilitation plans and financial provisions, those are obviously statutory things that you need. Proof of submission of your assessments, your EMPR. Now, a lot of people have submitted an EMPR, they've never had it's never been approved. We understand that. If you tell me in the audit that you've submitted it, please give me the proof. In that case, you will score your full scoring. If you tell me you've submitted it and you can't prove it, well, you're not going to score full marks there. We understand the issues that operations are facing with regards to these sort of things. Financial provisions, your DMR 128, your quarterly reports, all those sort of things which are required, we need to know that they are being submitted correctly and on time. And then any other topics which the manager may consider relevant or they'd like to share, it would be fantastic to hear. We want to, I'd really like to hear it because it just gives me an idea of what it is that you are about and the person that I'm dealing with, the manager who's responsible and his team. So, you know, we can make we can assist you and build up a good relationship. It's a little example of a rural glass recycling project. It's actually a full waste recycling project, which was set up down in our part of the world here in Elspeth, and very, very successful. It's created employment. Just an idea for you, for people in areas where you are surrounded by communities. This has created employment for, I think, about 10 people in an area that is fraught with low employment levels. Very simple, a very low cost, a little bit of help from various corporates, and they're doing a stunning job. So just an idea. As I mentioned earlier on, the manager's presentation is a platform to share, to showcase your operation, and you know, be proud of it. I certainly was proud of my operation, even though it wasn't always perfect, and I'm sure you all are. So you know, share it. I'd be delighted to see what it is you're doing and what it, you know, where I can assist. And then, as I said earlier on, please share as much information with me as possible. This is a case of more is better. I'm not going to penalize you if you tell me too much. Then, as Nico mentioned, we had a dry run. It was last year, beginning of, sure, I've lost it now. I think 2020 we did a dry run at Afrimat in Elspeth. A very well conducted audit by Leonard and his team and Letitia. And there, it was highlighted that a good presentation really covers a large amount of information required. They really they pulled out the stops and told us exactly what we needed to see. And it makes the audit so much easier. And, you know, there were a few things that we found, but there was very little that they hadn't told us, which was great. And it just makes it a very pleasant day and a very nice exercise where we can provide assistance to the operation. And I think Leonard learned a huge amount that day, and he contacted me afterwards and said, you know, thanks, I've done this and I've done that and I've done that, which is the type of sort of atmosphere that we want to create. Are there any questions up to this point on the online audit? Is there anybody out there still?
Sorry,
there
Anthony. Okay, I'm just going to put it out there. The online audit, are we going to have to submit documentation to you prior to the date, and then you go through and then we do the presentation, or are we going to record a presentation, send it through to you, or is it going to be a live Teams meeting type of setup?
Okay, we're going to do a live Teams meeting. and you will do pretty much a presentation as I'm doing now, and you can scan in and use those documents that we need to see. You can just put them on the screen. I don't want copies of your documentation, purely as I mentioned earlier on, from the confidentiality aspect, and I don't want to be exposed to that. So I don't think you want your confidential documents floating around on a website somewhere. So no, we do a Teams meeting, and the presentation will cover most of that. There might be one or two things that I might ask for during the audit and say, listen, just quickly show me that, just put it, scan it and show us. But if you do your manager's presentation properly, if you really focus on that, you can include your EMPRs, you can include your performance assessment. I don't expect you to scan the whole EMPR, but show me the relevant information, and demonstrate that understanding of that information. That's the big thing. Is if it's there, yes, and do you understand what it's about? That's point number 2, and it's probably the more important one, because you will have an EMPR, you will have an SLP, because if you haven't, you've got a problem. And but what does it mean to you? And does that answer your question?
Yes, thank you. And is there a time frame on the presentation, or how does it work?
The audit's going to be essentially, let me give you a little bit of a sort of a timetable. We'd start off, let's say, at about 8:30 in the morning. I do an hour training session, give or take, maybe 45 minutes. After that, the manager does his presentation. If he takes an hour, he takes an hour. If he takes an hour and a half, I don't mind, as long as we get the information through. Then we will go through the audit document and have a break, obviously, in between. People get tired and they lose their attention, and we should be finished certainly of the online audits by about 2-3 o'clock in the afternoon, at the latest. It all depends, again, the more you put into that manager's presentation, the more ticks I can do on the, while I'm listening to it, I can actually complete a lot of the audit document. So that's where we're sort of sitting. Does that answer it?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
I see Charlene's got a hand up.
Hello, Charlene.
Hi, Anthony. Maybe just a recommendation to all the mines. I think it might be appropriate for them to list their most significant impacts. So typical impacts would be associated with their stockpiles. So if they list the impacts associated with stockpiles or biodiversity decline, or other issues that might arise is proximity to water bodies or erosion. So that typically those would be the most significant impacts, and it would be relevant where they are at, and the EMPR would have assessed the most significant impact. So most significant impacts would be critical, and then the next thing that's very critical is the mitigation measures for those impacts. And then once you have the mitigation measures for those impacts, what is your sustainable end use for your life? So in terms of your performance assessment that would be assessed eventually, you need to prove that by the end of the life of your quarry, there's a sustainable end use considering these most significant impacts. How are you going to meet that requirement? And if you can show that, your EMPR is working.
Yeah, absolutely. Very, very, very valid comments, and thank you for that, Charlene. Folks, I think take that. That's very valuable, and it'll make the whole thing very successful for you. Remember that the audit is not there. It's not just for one day. We audit for what I see on the day. That's specific for that particular operation. But the information that is provided is empowering the manager to run the operation the way it should be run. And you know, I come and I go, but you sit there for the other 364 days of the year, and you're going to answer to whoever it is you need to answer. So you know, our focus here is to equip you with the right information and the right actions, so that you are able to answer those questions and defend what you are doing. Are there any other questions?
Yes, Navashni, Anthony, Navashni.
Yes, yes.
Anthony, just a comment.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like the online audit is just going to be more of a compliance check to paperwork. And I don't know if those queries are actually going to benefit from your years of experience as a works manager, because you're not physically actually seeing their site. The guys that will actually benefit are those where you are physically attending the site visits and auditing them, in which case, you know, if you see a badly designed bund wall or something, you can make the recommendation. But I don't think that the guys that are online are actually going to benefit much, other than, you know, having better paperwork for the next.
You know, Navashni, that was an issue that was discussed. I don't think it's quite. I don't think you're quite right on that. Once that presentation comes through and people show me photographs of what they're doing and that sort of thing, there's an enormous amount of information that I can share with them. You know, if somebody shows me they've got erosion control measures, it looks like one ABC, or waste control, or you know, all that sort of thing. That's why I put a lot of emphasis on that presentation. They need to show me what they're doing. That way they can benefit tremendously. So, you know, have a chat with the guys and say, listen, put it in, take those photographs, whether they're ugly, whether they're bad, it doesn't matter, because that's where the ideas can start flowing. Remember, what we're trying to do here is to get the flow of information. And I'm very, very happy to share my knowledge. I really, I give it absolutely without hesitation. And you know, but I need to have the flow from the other side to be able to be effective on that.
I understand, Anthony.
Yeah.
My concern also is that, as you know, some of these managers don't know that something is amiss on their site.
Yes,
Speaking.
yes,
So you
yeah.
would see a picture of, say, you know, bad gully erosion on a stockpile or an overburden dump, as an example.
Yes.
So that kind of thing just gets missed for the next year until
Yes,
it's
yeah,
time to get physically audited, you know.
Yeah,
It is
I think
missed, that's what it is.
yes. Sorry about that. But Navashni, the other thing is, remember what we're trying to do here as well, and you know, we try to get to raise the level of compliance, and I think we're going to achieve that quite well. You know, okay, fair enough. Some folk will only see me next year, but they're going to have a lot of things to think about once I've done the training issue as well. There's a lot of information that's going to go through, pertinent to what you do on site, and it will feed in with the audit and feed in with what folk are doing. It's pretty much, you know, it's generic, and most operations do the same thing, as you would know. Some do it well, some don't do it so well, but we can very quickly pick that up. Are there any other questions?
Anthony's, I don't know if you can see my hand, Letitia here. Just
I'm a bit blind, Letitia, sorry, but yeah, no, it's not a problem.
I just want to share the one benefit that I see in this, we have constant 2IC quarry managers coming up, youngsters, and them sitting in that online version of the audit is already a training ground for that youngster to know what is expected of him document-wise for the environment. And then the next year he can walk with and see the practical application thereof. So one must also see this as a training platform for our youngsters. We are running out of resource in managers and 2ICs. And I just see this as a perfect opportunity.
Oh, thanks, Letitia. Yeah, look, it's got huge benefits in it there as well, and as you rightly say, the workforce is grey, um, and there's a huge gap between the grey and the new guys at the bottom in terms of information. And just to come back to Navashni's point, Navashni, I when I was started off as a quarry manager and operations manager, to me, an EMPR was a document that I had to have. I had no clue what was in there. And it took one day, somebody actually started asking me, and I felt like a complete idiot because I couldn't answer what was going on. And then that's when I started having a look at, reading through it and actually knowing what the content was and the benefits that are contained in those things, like your performance assessments, your EMPRs, etc. So I think we're going to certainly shake a bit of. There are going to be a couple of people that are uncomfortable. A couple of guys are going to really not enjoy it very much because we're basically forcing them to go and read these things and have an understanding of it. But at the end of the day, they'll understand the benefits of it.
Anthony, Nico here.
Yes, Nico.
Sorry, I didn't put my hand up because I see you
I
can't.
can't see the hands. I don't know
Okay.
why, but anyway, it's fine.
I think what Letitia raised there is a very, 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 very important issue. Is that we've just started a focus area on young professionals. And what she said is, and what you've just confirmed, is there's a whole lot of youngish guys coming in. And it's a problem that they ask me, what about this or what about that? And we're saying, well, we're going to try, we set up a committee and we're going to hold a meeting in due course and just to try and help them. The problem is that in the old days, the guys used to go to work and then see how other people did it. A lot of people have been working from home. So that's been a problem. So what we're trying to do is maybe during these sessions where the people have to present to you, the young people sit in. And I'm actually saying that if it's in the boardroom, you use that as a training session. ASPASA is also registered with EXA, and we are planning to get those points. What's those points that you get when you sit in a session? And one session of us of ours that's an environmental session could earn an individual some points if they're registered. Yeah. So I think it's very crucial that we. Sorry, there's a mic on. Portia. Thank you. Um, so I think it's the bigger picture. Also, the thing I want to make known is that the days of an auditor running around the country and visiting places and so forth and so forth, I think that's also something that you will go out, but you're not going to go out every year to the same place and visit. I mean, that's a big problem for the auditor and for the operations, and it's a very costly exercise to send somebody running around the whole country. So that's the reason why we're doing this. And it sounds, as if some people don't understand what we're going to try and do, but there is a way of doing things. A lot of stuff is being done these days on Teams and stuff like that. So we must just bear that in mind. It's a total change of what we used to do. And it's an opportunity to train people. It's also not a full day. It's going to take 2 or 3 hours, as you said. So I think I just wanted to raise that because I'm nervous that people go to their companies and say, we're not going to do this distance audit or quote. And I just feel we need to clear that. I mean, we saw some of the CEOs 2 weeks ago, me and my chairman, and the guys are saying, this is a big thing in our business, environmental, and our people need to understand. You need to train them. So I'm talking from the top now, and we said, no, we are. we're pushing this issue, the subject matter, because it's important that it gives a lot of problem to companies if it's not done properly. And I think the way we're going to do it will help us. Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you, Nico. Yeah, and just to add into both what Navashni and Letitia raised, there's nothing to stop the manager from including those youngsters and letting them present a portion of something, so that they get a feel for what it's about. What I said earlier is the manager mustn't delegate that presentation to somebody else. He must control it, or she must control it. It's their presentation. But I mean, there's nothing to stop him or her. We need to find a generic gender term these days. But there's nothing to stop them from saying the next section is going to be presented by so and so, and to give one of the youngsters exposure. Very good learning thing as well. But the managers need to know what is going on there.
Charlene wants to ask a question, Anthony.
Charlene?
Yeah, sorry, I just actually want to support Nico. So we run an environmental consulting company. The most issues that I deal with, and these are mines that are already in trouble, so I'm not talking about any of you. The most issues that we deal with is adjacent communities taking the mine to task because of environmental compliance issues. Then the Department of Minerals would issue, or the Department of Energy would issue a Section 31L. Section 31L is an environmental non-compliance. If you do not adhere to the environmental non-compliance, it immediately becomes a criminal record, and which the mine manager is liable for. And it carries by itself a weight of 10 million rand fine. So, and again, I say it's not one of you that's in this position, but it is what we deal with on a regular basis to try and resolve the environmental issues that might come out of various mines.
Thanks, Charlene. Yeah, that's also very topical. Very, very, very good information.
Anthony, then Nico, yeah, again, sorry.
Yes, Nico.
What you just raised now is very, very important, is that we need to understand, the legal consequences. And Charlene will also be helping us if we have a problem. She's very clued up on these things. So I think what you shared with us is crucial, that we understand that these consequences. I must just share an example. 2 weeks ago, when we saw the CEOs, we saw most probably one of the biggest members in our group in ASPASA, and the CEO said that what happened with them, they opened a mine other side of Rustenburg, and everything has gone well. They planned everything, did it well, and suddenly the community forced the DMR official to go and withdraw their blasting ticket, their explosive license. So we must watch out for these things, that the communities, and of course it's not always the innocent communities, it's mafia that go to the communities and so forth. And that place had to stop, and we've been trying all our best to try and get past it, but we've put the explosive guys onto them. But sorry, I'm muted. Somehow I'm muted.
We lost you there.
I didn't touch it. I was not even near it. But I think what happened, that this big mining house started an open cast mine, and suddenly the blasting ticket was withdrawn. We know the official. He has been in trouble previously. He tends to take a bit of money at the back, and then goes and withdraws things. But those are the type of things. It's not purely environmental, but that's how it's done. So if they can find something else, like you make dust, and the problem is people complain when there's dust and there's a blast and there's a shake, and they say, oh, it's us, it's like the thing in Simonstown where they allege that the war boat shot into the mountain over their houses. They say it's because a lot of rubbish out, but that's the problem. We have all these perceptions. So I think if what you're saying is if the managers and the staff are all clued up, and the people rock up and say, oh, you're doing this, that, and so forth, they'll chase them away. I think that's our whole, and that's how we're explaining it to the top guys in our industry, to say this is what we're trying to help with, and not have companies' operations stop for a day or 6, because that's money gone. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks, Nico. Are there any other questions? Okay, let's move on then to the next section, which is the physical audit. So how this will operate is obviously I'll be on site. Comprehensive inspection we'll conduct, and I'm going to be quite thorough on that one. It will be done with management and staff. Staff will be interviewed. It's not a formal thing. It'll be, we'll have a chat to everybody, because we need to ascertain their level of environmental awareness. We need to see what your site looks like, obviously. The better kept sites, the neater, the cleaner, the better. Mining boundaries, you need to be able to identify them and show them, and so does your staff. Water management, your stormwater management, your catch berms, your catchment dams, sedimentation, seepage berms, all that sort of thing, the pollution control. You need to know what your levels of water usage are. Flood control measures, your erosion, 100-year flood lines. These are all things that are really important, and they're all generally contained in your EMP. Fallout dust buckets. This is a very, very favorite topic of a lot of inspectors and people, because there's a variety of things. This is just an example of what one looks like. But proper dust control and monitoring will get you out of a lot of trouble. On waste management, your general waste, your hazardous waste, old oil, rubber, litter, etc. Dust control and monitoring, the dust suppression, your silica content. The chief inspector in his presentation mentioned the 2024 milestones of 0.05 milligrams per cube. And folks, if you don't know what's in your dust at this stage, you'll never ever achieve that. Noise control and monitoring, your surveys. We've also got the 2024 noise guidelines that we have to adhere to. Blasting operations, control and monitoring, your seismic monitoring, your fly rock, vibration damage, all those sort of things. How are you doing it? This is, we're going to look at those in depth to see if we can help you. I know what I'm doing with blasting. I've been doing it for many years. But I'm not perfect. But I may be able to help you and put, just give you some good ideas. Little idea of some waste separation bins, folks. It's important that you start, if you haven't already, start separating your waste and start getting your recycling operations going. It's going to make a big difference to your operation. Just as an example, I reduced the waste that we actually sent to landfill by about 45% in the first year that we started recycling. And it got more and more after that. So it is possible. Stakeholders, communities and neighbors, meetings, information groups, etc. What are you doing there? We need to see what it is, and we need to assist you if you're not doing it correctly to get it right. Because if you don't communicate with these people and these institutions and stakeholders, you're going to have a problem. What we've found is that the people that are informed and there's no surprises coming through and no shocks coming through, tend to be a lot more tolerant of the operations that are, things that are happening. So if you know that there's going to be a blast at 4 o'clock or whatever time you do it, then you know, people that are sitting there with nothing to do are aware of the bang that's going to come, and there's dust or a bit of a shake. They don't get a fright. You know, are you going to be working possibly a bit late? I don't know. Suddenly, if you tell them we're going to be working an extended shift, then people are aware of, okay, that's what's happening there. So there's a lot of emphasis on communities and stakeholders and neighbors. It's important that you get that really, you know, get it really sorted out. Alien vegetation control, identification and control of your alien species. You need to know what that's all about. You need to be able to have a program in place and something that we can see is actually happening. Folks, it is important, and you know, with alien vegetation, you end up you have alien vegetation on site, and then your neighbors suddenly start having a big problem there. They're going to take you to task. Satellite industries, as I spoke about earlier on, ready-mix plants, your brick plants, your asphalt plants, even explosive magazines, that sort of thing. It's important that they comply with your requirements, not you with them. Now, ready-mix plants are notorious for polluting if they're not run properly. So you need to be able to make sure that what happens on your site is according to your norms and standards, not theirs. And then again, we come back to stakeholders and things, management and resolution of complaints. How do you do it, and what is the mechanism for people to be able to approach you and say, listen, we have a problem. Are you going to do it properly? Are you going to resolve it? Are you going to be open to listening to what they say, or are we going to end up with conflicting with a conflict situation on your site? This was something that I just wanted to share with you, and you can see where the big complaints from neighbors and stakeholders come from. Dust is one, noise and vibrations, trucks, and then works affecting highways. So you can see those, I mean, 22%, 18%, 11%, those are big numbers of complaints. And this is not just a ASPASA trend, this is pretty much a global trend that follows that sort of pattern. It might not be quite exact on those numbers, but ASPASA did publish this, and these are things that we need to be aware of. So you can see where the emphasis has to be to prevent problems from stakeholders. The principal inspector also said that they receive a lot of complaints of dust not being controlled at source, and you know, we need to address those. This is a picture I took of a site on a national road, and you can see why people complain. This was an operation that the guys, they got it right. They sorted it out after the complaints were lodged. It was very quickly resolved, so well done to them. But yeah, this is the sort of thing that does happen. And the manager wasn't even aware of it. He wasn't there. So his guys on site were a little bit lax and didn't put the dust suppression in place. The other thing we're going to look at, obviously, is hazardous material storage, your bundles, diesel, oil, paint, all that sort of thing. I mean, these are things that you've got in place, and we just need to make sure that they are up to standard, and you know, that you're not exposed there, you don't have unnecessary spillages, etc. Again, we come back to neighbors, the traffic control and your impacts on your neighbors and communities, spillage on roads, dust, congestion, all those sort of things. And these are things that you have got in place. I know that you do, because you have to have them. But are they being managed properly, and are you actually are you on the top of the game there? As Charlene mentioned earlier on, sensitive ecological areas, your species on site, etc., your degradation, all that sort of thing. We need to look at that, and that you will find in your EMPRs and things. you need to know what is going on. You know, there was a case a while ago of a enthusiastic young chap on a quarry, and he decided, the manager said to him, we need a road up there. So he got a 966 and pushed a road, and they went through a very sensitive area. And unfortunately for them, the neighbor to that sensitive area was a professor in zoology. Well, it stopped short of a major fine, but the reparation and the rehabilitation costs were horrendous. So you need to know what is surrounding you. You need to know what's on your site, and you just prevent anything that is unnecessary. Then the physical audit, obviously I'm going to look at what gaps were identified on the previous audits. So for example, if you did an online audit previously, and this year you do a physical, then we have a look at the gaps. The first round this year, this is not going to be too important, but if you've identified gaps on your own assessments, please put those in. Then we can see that there's action being taken, and you know, that you are being proactive and not reactive. We've spoken about bund walls. Disposal of waste, that's another thing. Your end user certificates. Are your waste disposal companies legit, or are they just dumping everything on a landfill site? What is going on there? You know, do you know what's going on there? Have you checked it out? And then, of course, the waste management on site. We want to see what, you know, how are you handling it? Is it marked? Is it covered? Is it controlled? And hopefully, we've got some recycling projects going on most of the sites. General thing here, the scoring, you know, as I mentioned earlier, we're not looking at scores too importantly. Obviously, the guys that have done well will get good scores. The guys that haven't done well won't get such good scores. The scoring reflect the compliance of the day of the audit. So you may have a good thing. If you don't present it properly, you're not going to get it. Scores can potentially differ because the emphasis on the audit has changed. So a lot of the guys with Alan that got very good scores, I can't guarantee you're going to get the same thing, but put your best foot forward and I'm sure you will maintain your level. I don't know if it's going to be the same. You know, so please don't crucify me if you don't get your 100% on these things. But the emphasis should be on achieving compliance. That's where we're looking. All right, and then in conclusion, a request or certainly an appeal to the various folk on the call: make use of this audit to achieve compliance with your operation. You know, don't be hesitant. Put it out there. Let's see. Let's get it sorted, and use the information and the support that ASPASA and myself can give you to achieve your compliance. Again, existing information, your about face audit files, you should have them on file. It all should be there. Just add on to it and modify and update what is on there. And then again, the audits are there to assist site managers and their teams to achieve environmental compliance. And folks, that's pretty much what I have to say in terms of where we're heading to. Yeah, let's have some questions on the physical audit side. Very quiet. Are there no questions? Okay, I see you folk want my contact details. Yes, I will I will share that with you. That's fine. That's not a problem. Anyone else?
Anthony, we will also circulate this. Well, it'll be this presentation will be on YouTube. Anneke will most probably get that done in the next day or two. So by the end of the week, it should be on YouTube. So people could most probably take it and use it as a training session in-house, in a boardroom or whatever. So that's what we'll do. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other questions? What I think I'll do with the I can actually put my contact details on the message here quickly. That's my phone number. Email address is in the there you go. Please feel free to contact me. If we are doing audits, I won't respond immediately, but I will certainly get back to you. So you know, if I don't answer, please don't think I'm being rude. Just leave a message, and I will definitely come back to you, or you can send me a WhatsApp or SMS. Okay. Right. If there are no further questions, Nico, I think we can wrap it up then.
Well, thanks, Anthony, and thanks to all the people that have joined. And we must just note that there's an environmental meeting in due course. So let me, do you have the date in your head, Anthony? I can't recall.
It's March, if I'm not mistaken.
Anneke, you? I think it's the 10th.
Is it not the 15th of Feb?
Yes.
It's 15th of Feb. Yes, yeah,
Oh.
that's the one. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for people joining there. There's going to be a lot of information that's going to be shared. Anthony, thanks for your trouble on your work, and to everybody else, go well and enjoy the month of February. Thanks.
Thank you, Nico, and thank you everybody that's on the call.